Hello, hello. This is your boy Shrimp, and I am back for another episode of Art with Adventure. And it's been a while since I streamed a digital art stream where I would draw and listen to some audiobooks. And yeah, it's been a while. Yes, I got some few issues with my schedule, but finally I got it sorted out, and hopefully I can maintain this kind of schedule and try to do a bit more art during weekdays and a bit of gaming on weekends if I can maintain this, hopefully. And um yeah, I also decided to finally do this again because it's been a while, so I've kind of missed it. So yeah, here I am and going to design more stuff and representing this through this stream. So yeah. So last time we left off from the story of the Dead Mage Who Doesn't Want a Fourth Time. That is the current audiobook that I am listening. By the way, if you're not familiar with what I'm doing here, I draw and stream it, and I'm not really good in talking, so I usually listen to audiobook, and so I did this. I listened to audiobook and let it play to you guys too, so that you could listen to the story that's going through this novel while I do my art. This is usually how I work used all the time, and it helps me kind of be in the mood. Uh, I know it's kind of contradictory not being able to concentrate fully, but it's how it works for me. So yeah. Anyway, let's go back to what. No, not really going back to, or it's more like introducing you to the new project. So this is the new project. Uh, all right. So as you can see, I've drawn Gargura in her Atlantic clothing and holding a hand. Well, whose hand it is, I'll probably reveal it in the near future if I ever create that video that I'm planning. But yeah, so far this is the mm, yeah, the art piece that I want to create today, and hopefully I can finish. I already started the sketch, and you saw it earlier. I already started with the line art also, and the issue is I've really wanted to stream this before starting anything of this, but sadly wasn't able to do so. The idea just came up to me uh, to just to continue this and then stream it also. Mm, sorry guys if I really didn't show you the very beginning of the sketch, but yeah, that is pretty much what we have here right now, or whatever I've started already. So let's just turn this all into blue so that it will be easy to trace. And yeah, boom, that's a line art, and looks really nice already for the face. Really satisfied with it. I think it was last night. Yeah, it was last night that I was almost like closing my eyes due to the exhaustion, or yeah, the drowsiness. But I still managed to do all this fine line art, and I'm happy with it. And I'm gonna continue this and show you this to you guys if yeah, of course, if you're interested in staying and watching my stream right now. But yeah, anyway, for the Death Mage Who Doesn't Want a Fourth Time, for the audiobook that we are going to listen for today, the continuation of the story. It's a good thing we're gonna have a chapter summary or character summary page. That's the title of this chapter. So we'll be reminded of the characters and the people that we've met throughout the story, and uh, yeah, it will be very helpful for us right now because it's been a while since we've tackled this story and did this kind of stream. So yeah, let's just enjoy the story because I'm not sure how to recap anything because my memory is kind of jarbled of where we are right now. So this is really helpful. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later, and I hope you enjoy the stream. If you enjoy the stream, please leave a like and subscribe. It will really help me. But if you don't like to, you could probably share it to those art enthusiasts out there. I would really appreciate if you could share that to share this to them. So yeah. Anyways, that's enough talk to me, and let's continue with this.
V6 character summary page. Vandali, Damper, Dark Elf, 9 years old, male. The now 9-year-old protagonist of this series. Having found out for the first time what happened in Origin after his own death there, he thinks that the Bravers are no good after all. He was hoping that they would live for much longer and not be reincarnated in Lambda until later, so he had wanted them to be more dependable. At this stage, Zombie Maker is a failure of a job, and Glum Creator isn't living up to his expectations, so his job changes have been of poor quality lately. However, he has learned that he has new allies in Zero-1, the god of space and creation, and Ricolant, the genie of time and magic, who fell into a slumber after becoming powerless during the battle between Vita and Alda that occurred 100,000 years ago, and he considers this to be fortunate. After reincarnating in Lambda, he had forgotten about the members of the 8th Guidance who later become a Legion, as he did not have the time to form deep emotions and bonds with them in Origin. But after their reunion, he does not have any negative feelings about being deeply adored, albeit one-sidedly, so he considers them to be his friends. A reincarnated individual, the Gazer Minuma Hitumi, is among them, but Vandali does not have any particular individual grudge against her, so he doesn't mind. After all, her status shows that Rod Corty's strings are not attached to her. He has finally learned the shield technique and armor technique skills, but he is capable of creating barriers without the need to recite any incantations, so for this to be useful, he may have to wait until he faces an enemy possessing a fragment of the Demon King that can break those barriers, or fights a battle under special circumstances where he is unable to use magic. He was attacked by the Clairvoyance and Death Scythe combo from Rod Corty's Divine Realm, but he repelled this attack. During this incident, he learned that Murakami Junpei and 3 others, who weren't in the information provided by Legion, have died. In the end, Vandali gained more than he lost. Immediately after that, he remembered that the Death Scythe Kono Kyoji had been a classmate of his on Earth, but he didn't feel any particular shock after killing him. He felt a little surprise at the fact that he didn't feel any shock. However, he has used the Demon King's ink sacs to paint the roof of Taylorsheim's royal castle and altered the arrangement of the city's walls as countermeasures against clairvoyance, and he has been examining the effects of his Glum Creator job, so it seems that the greatest shock to him is that he has found himself with no time to do his own leveling. Legion, 0 years old, gender equals? The heroine of Volume 6? Are being created when the members of the 8th Guidance, who were saved by Vandali and began worshipping him, as well as the Gazer Minuma Hitumi, were reincarnated into the base form of life due to a twisted series of events. Their usual appearance is that of a sphere of countless mannequins made of flesh-colored clay twisted around each other, around 3 meters in diameter. As their appearance may suggest, they have no bones, eyeballs, nerves or organs. Even they themselves do not understand how they are alive, how their senses work and how they can have conscious thought. Due to the mana granted to them by Vandali, they are able to use their own limited death attribute spells. They have also become physically powerful as well, as their appearance may suggest, they are capable of ramming their heavy body into enemies. Also, due to the composition of their body, toxins that poison the blood and neurotoxins are ineffective, and since their body is made entirely of flesh, there are no vital points. But since their flesh is exposed, they have less defensive power and they are weak against heat and electrical attacks. They are weak to these attacks, but due to their 10 million vitality and the effects of the rapid regeneration skill, these weaknesses are effectively meaningless. They do not possess a core-like organ that could be a weak point that one might expect beings such as this to possess. Even severing or burning the human-shaped parts protruding from their body is almost meaningless. The personalities making up Legion all share their memories, experiences and acquired skills with each other. It is as if each personality is a terminal connected to an enormous server where memories and such are recorded. With the acquisition of the parallel thought processing skill, the personalities can disagree with each other and multiple personalities can surface at the same time. Also, with the long-distance control skill, it is possible for the personalities to separate from Legion's main body and act independently. However, while they are separate from Legion, they cannot share memories. Once the separated personalities return, the memories are shared once more. Incidentally, if a separated personality's body is attacked and destroyed, the personality simply returns to the main body. The personality itself is not extinguished, nor are the memories from when it was separate from the main body lost. However, the personality falls into an unconscious state, and can become unable to act for anywhere between a few minutes to a few hours, or even up to a day. All of the personalities share Legion's skills and can use them. However, each personality has strong areas and weak areas. Other than the personalities of the 8th Guidance members who were making full use of their limited death attribute spells in Origin and Gazer, they are weak in most things. They have received multiple divine blessings from Zeru-1, Ricalant and the God of Origin, though they have lost Trodkorti's divine protection in return, and due to their effects, they have become rank 6 and undergone numerous job changes in less than 10 days after being born. The effect of Meat Sphere Warrior and Enormous Meat Sphere Warrior allows them to make meat that they touch delicious, so they can lure less intelligent, carnivorous monsters. However, it cannot make the meat of creatures other than itself, and undead, delicious while it is still living. Below are Legion's personalities. Pluto, Legion's leader after having led the 8th Guidance in Origin. By using her own vitality and that of others as a cost, she can completely cure diseases, remove poisons and even resuscitate those who have died from external wounds by sucking the death out of the target. However, she cannot revive those who have died completely, those who are in a state where cardiopulmonary resuscitation would be meaningless. Also, she does not replace damaged body parts or heal external injuries. She merely resuscitates her target. She is also able to pour the death that she has gathered into any organism she touches, causing death. Because she used this ability in Origin to save numerous ill and injured people in order to gather death, there are people there who worship her as a goddess. Incidentally, if her form from when she was alive in Origin is used as a reference, she is at a level where she can barely contest Zedorus in the bust rankings. Inma, a boy who was something like an advisor for the 8th Guidance. Inside Legion, he mediates interactions between the other personalities and can act as a judge for games they play. He is a calm personality, but he is generally uninterested in those other than his companions. He favors those who favors his allies and detests those who detest them. He has no independent opinions on others. However, after becoming a part of Legion, his companions have expanded significantly. He is the user of a death attribute spell that allows him to know the names and faces of those who have died in the world that he is currently in, no matter where their deaths occurred. However, after becoming a part of Legion, he feels slight doubt in regard to how useful this spell is. He learned the basic method of using this spell during his previous life. Shade, after he was saved by Vandali, he was protected by the Bravers who handed him over to a research institution where a cruel experiment caused him to lose his body. He became a being consisting of only a mind, capable of casting a death attribute spell that allowed him to possess corpses. By becoming a part of Legion, he has acquired the physical body that he so desperately wanted, and now enjoys various things. He likes delicious meat. Incidentally, his possession ability can also be used by Legion, as he can separate from Legion's main body with the long-distance control skill and infest corpses that way. He has an easygoing personality, but at the same time, he has the characteristic of being unable to resist killing those he feels a murderous intent towards. Jack, a boy with a swollen forehead and back of head, appearing as if he is wearing a pumpkin on his head. He is capable of using a limited teleportation ability, and if he knows his destination beforehand, he is able to teleport to the locations of his companions and organisms that are near death. After becoming a part of Legion, he has become able to teleport to those with the death attribute present in them. However, he dislikes separating himself from Legion's main body and acting on his own for extended periods of time. He has a timid, kind personality, and he is not adept at moving his body. He got along with Minuma Hitumi, who had a timid personality as well, and the two began to like one another. Generally, when his personality surfaces, Minuma Hitumi's does as well. Valkyrie, in Origin, she was a tall, beautiful European woman. At first glance, she may have appeared to be the cool beauty type with a nice figure, but she always speaks in a loud voice and has a brave, virtuous personality. She likes military uniforms and flags. However, because her heart had stopped and her blood was circulated by a pump implanted in her body, she was physically weak to the point that she would suffer from anemia if she were to run, despite her appearance. She is the user of a death attribute spell that allows her to control undead, which normally cannot be controlled, like an army. After becoming a part of Legion, her personality surfaces often and she enjoys moving her supernaturally powerful body around. She joined forces with the Death Psycho no Kyuji in her previous life before he betrayed her, but she doesn't have any particular emotional attachment to him. When told that he had been extinguished, she simply gave a laugh and said, "So, he was a boring fellow even after death." Incidentally, she and Isis are the top two in the 8th guidance. In Taylorsheim's rankings, she stands with Terra and the top contenders. Isis, in origin, she was a beautiful black woman with dreadlocks. She gained an incomplete knowledge of medicine through self-study and became able to use a death attribute spell that turns corpses into undead with the same strength that they possessed while alive. However, because self-study is what it is, she has not performed any surgery other than when she implanted self-explosive devices in her companions' bodies. She was actually placed into a state of brain death as a result of an experiment, but when Vandali saved her, he gave her soul the ability to move her body directly, so her brain and nerves were in an inactive state. Even after she became a part of Legion, her death attribute spell works well, but with the new limitation that it does not exhibit its full effects when used on undead that would become stronger than Legion. She is aware that she is not much use in a fight, so she emerges in times other than during battle. Berserk. The 8th guidance is only non-human member. A parasitic biological weapon that was created as a result of animal experiments. It did not obey the orders of any but Isis and the other 8th guidance members. After becoming a part of Legion, it now resembles a bear and obediently obeys the orders of others. Also, it retains its parasitic ability. Izanami, a woman with enormous tumors covering her body all over. It is thought that she was originally Asian. She is the user of a death attribute spell that allows her to sever her flesh to create monsters called Yomatsu Shikome and Yomatsu Ikusa. Also, she possesses superhuman regenerative abilities, which has become the rapid regeneration skill after she became a part of Legion. She has a somewhat mature, calm personality, but she is unable to conceal her cruelty towards her enemies. Her exact size in origin was unknown due to her swelling tumors. The volume of her tumors has been retained even after she became a part of Legion, so she is large and plump. Ghost, a young black man. He has an ability that rendered him invisible if he remains silent in the darkness, even to his allies in the 8th guidance. Also, since he was able to slip through all kinds mechanical and magical sensors and surveillance equipment, he was one of the 8th guidance's infiltration members alongside Jack and Shade. He has a shy personality. He enjoys surprising his companions and severing the heads of his enemies with his knife. He thinks of himself as a man who cannot do anything in battle but take the enemy by surprise, so he made himself the king of surprise, one-hit one-kill attacks. As a result, he killed the clairvoyance Tendu Tatsuya, and feels responsibility for causing Tendu's reincarnation into Lambda. After becoming a part of Legion, his invisibility only works on the part of the body that is being moved by his personality. He is adept at using this to approach enemies and place his dagger between their necks and their spleens. Incidentally, he has learned martial skills. Baba Yaga, a beautiful, blonde, Eastern European woman. The reason she had her hair in twin tails to give a youthful impression was to have her enemies let their guards down due to her appearance. She wore a bodysuit that exposed the curves of her body, but this was for functional reasons. It was an item that she had stolen from a research facility she had attacked, made of cutting-edge materials. She uses a death attribute spell that causes organic matter to catch fire and combust. She remains capable of this even after becoming a part of Legion. Using this ability, she acted as the 8th guidance's only effective combatant before the final battle. Incidentally, she spared several enemy guards, which is possibly why she has some fans in origin. She possesses a savage personality, but at the same time, enjoys the daily things in life and has the compassion to spare her enemies, and is not bothered when this contradiction is pointed out. This is something that can be said about the other members of the 8th guidance as well, but this is normal for them, so it is nothing worth worrying about. The world's knowledge, philosophy and psychology are things that are used to describe the creatures known as humanity, which she and her companions are not a part of. Incidentally, among the 8th guidance, she is even more modest than Pluto. In Taylorsheim's rankings, she does not even reach Zadaris's level. This threatens their scarcity value. Irkigel, a woman who had the appearance of a female terrorist in origin, covering her face below the eyes with a cloth. She had the physical abilities of a well-trained soldier, and she studied in the use of guns, knives and unarmed combat with the zombies created by ISIS and controlled by Valkyrie. She is not particularly talented in this field, she is only as strong as a single soldier in combat. However, she has a counter-type death attribute spell that reflects the damage that she herself receives back onto the attacker, so whoever kills her is certain to die. However, after becoming a part of Legion, this counter ability only works on the individual that Legion was last attacked by, and due to the rules of vitality, health points, the effect has changed to reflect the amount of damage dealt to Legion's vitality. She has a dark personality, contrasting with Valkyrie's. The fact that she hides her face is also a sign that she has no confidence in herself. However, she takes pride in her counter ability. The end of her previous life was the greatest highlight of its use, but in this world, she is able to use it multiple times, so she is happy about that. However, she does not surface often. She is ranked 3rd among the 8th Guidance members. In Taylorsheim's ranking, she is a little below Rito and Saria. The Gazer Minuma Hitumi, the only reincarnated individual among Legion's personalities. She possesses a cheat-like ability that certainly predicts future events, that still take place almost exactly as she predicted it, no matter how much effort is made to change them. Once she was reincarnated in Origin, she thought that she would be able to succeed in life just by predicting the lottery numbers once, but she ended up joining the Bravers led by Amamiya Hiroto, repeatedly foreseeing the victims of disaster and fiendish crimes, but failing to change their futures no matter how much she tried. With her mind suffering, she turned to drugs. After that, she was housed in a treatment facility as a disabled person. Her drug addiction kept a secret from the public, but Murakami Junpei and his group left the Bravers and kidnapped her. Following this, she was treated by Pluto and the damage her drug addiction had caused to her brain and internal organs was healed. She and Jack later came to like one another. She has become unable to use Earth attribute magic after becoming a part of Legion, and she hasn't made any predictions of the future, either, but nobody around her minds this. When she surfaces, she usually does so with Jack. Also, after becoming a part of Legion, she has fallen under the effects of Vandal's demon path enticement, so she worships him like the rest of Legion's members. Mikhail, zombie hero, broken, late 20s, male, approximately 200 years elapsed since death, a man who was once a hero of the Mage Shield Nation. He was born poor and aspired to become an adventurer to make a living. He displayed talent in the use of the spear technique skill, rose to become an A-class adventurer, and would likely have become an S-class adventurer if he had lived longer. He died as a result of the expedition to Taylorsheim, and though the details are unclear, his corpse was stolen by Gaberman's servants and added to Gaberman's collection, along with Zandia and Geena. His grave lies in the Mage Shield Nation, but it is thought that the coffin is empty. After being captured by Vandali, numerous mechanisms were placed into his body and he was turned into a training dummy for the training grounds, in a state where he cannot move his body or speak through his own will. However, due to the requests of Borkus and the others, he will be treated as a criminal slave. At the very least, he will likely be able to move his body and speak on his own. However, he will be in the same state as a criminal slave, so it is far from freedom. He is no longer a believer of Elder, he is under the effects of Demon Path enticement and guidance, Demon Path. He has noticed that Trapezic is a zombie made by sewing together the corpses of his former companions, but since the soul inside her is different, he is doing his best to think of her as someone else who looks like them. He is an exceptional spearman. While he was alive, he was praised as being able to slay a dragon with a single wooden spear. However, he would tell them, it's impossible with a wooden spear. At least let me attach a stone tip to it. Incidentally, eye contact is his specialty. Name, Mikhail rank, 10 race, zombie hero, broken level, 75 titles, divine spear of ice, most powerful training dummy passive skills, dark vision mental corruption, level 5 superhuman strength, level 1 strengthened attack power when equipped with a spear, large strengthened defense power when equipped with armor, small strengthened agility, level 10 detect presence, level 5 active skills, spear god technique, level 5 throwing, level 8 transcend limits, level 3 transcend limits, magic spear, level 5 armor technique, level 6 coordination, level 7 dismantling, level 2 farming, level 1 Iris Bearheart, human, 18 years old, female, the leader of the resistance organization, the Sauron Liberation Front, that is active in the Sauron Duchy that is currently occupied by the Amid Empire. They are currently receiving support from Vandali, and are effectively a lower part of Taylorsheim's society. Everyone acknowledges this, and Iris herself refers to Vandali as Your Majesty. The only one who does not acknowledge it is Vandali. Incidentally, they are currently searching for ways to set up cooperative relationships with the ghouls and other members of Veda's races that are living in small tribes within the Sauron Duchy. She has been given a sword that has become a cursed weapon containing the soul of her father, who was turned into an undead by Gubberman, and now has the cursed spirit swordsman job as a result. After that, she began to show her companions not only her face as a leader, but a face appropriate for a girl of her age. The problem is, the subject of her emotion is a sword, so to those who are not aware of the circumstances, she simply appears to be an extreme sword enthusiast. She has no time to be concerned about the thickening plot as she gains the aid of Baron Kyoko Ragdu, who is a valuable informant despite always beginning discussions with a similar exchange, and a helper in the form of Miles Rouge. Vandali has given her information to warn her of the reincarnated individuals, but perhaps it would be best for her to be more vigilant of capable reinforcements being sent to the Amid Empire, which feels threatened by her organization. Incidentally, her coordination with the resistance in the Orborn Kingdom's mainland is not going very well after the death of Raymond Paris. Name, Iris Bearheart Race, Human Age, 18 years old. Job, Cursed Spirit Swordsman Level, 49. Job History, Apprentice Knight, Lesser Knight, Warrior, Swordsman. Passive Skills, Strengthened Attack Power when equipped with a sword, Small Strengthened Attribute Values, Loyalty, Level 1 Strengthened Agility, Level 2 Strengthened Subordinates, Level 1 Strengthened Attack Power when equipped with a Cursed Spirit Sword, Small Active Skills, Swordsmanship, Level 5 Shield Technique, Level 1 Armor Technique, Level 3 Archery, Level 3 Mount, Level 1 Housework, Level 1 Silent Steps, Level 3 Coordination, Level 4 Surpass Limits, Level 1 Surpass Limits, Cursed Spirit Sword, Level 1, Amamiya Hiroto, 30 years old, male. The leader of the Bravers. He has an affinity for all of the attributes of magic that exist in Origin except for the Death attribute, and possesses multiple cheat-like abilities, including simultaneous multicast chant revocation, an ability that uses both chant revocation and multicast, and ignore defense. His codename is Braver. All of the members of the 8th Guidance that he was trying to protect are now deceased. Even his own companions suffered multiple casualties. He feels responsibility for this as their leader. His failure arose from the fact that all of the important members of the Bravers, other than those working behind the scenes, were made up of reincarnated individuals. Almost all of them were students on Earth, and once they were reborn, blessed with cheat-like abilities, fortunes and destinies, they were never exposed to the difficulties of the world, which turned out to be for the worse. Many of the Bravers had still not escaped the feeling of being a student, or were working in the Bravers as an extension of their student life. People normally encounter obstacles, worries and various setbacks as they become adults, but due to the fact that all of these were solved by the talent, abilities and fortunes that they had been given, they repeatedly experienced success with things simply working out in the end, and these experiences accumulated and took root in them. Hiroto realized his failure partway during the battle against the 8th Guidance, but is now troubled because he is unable to quickly change the mentality of the members of the Bravers. He lost the world's trust due to the great casualties caused by the plan to attack the 8th Guidance, as well as the fact that Shade took over the Oracle in Dekuya's body and caused an outrage by leaking false information mixed in with some truth. But immediately after that, he brought about a conclusion of the Death Attribute release incident that occurred in the Federal States Department of Defense, and it was revealed that Murakami Junpei and the others who had been working with the 8th Guidance were secret investigators for the federal state, so the brunt of the public's criticism has been redirected to the federal state's government. The incident has even caused the president of the federal state to step down, but in the end, unlike the people of the nations, high-ranking government officials still distrust and harbor fear for the Bravers. The losses of the members that acted as the brains of the Bravers organization, such as the Oracle, Clairvoyance, Laplace and Inspector, as well as the Mage Masha Minami Asagi who was respected as a senior member by the others, were particularly heavy. Hiroto is now busily engaged with the reconstruction of the organization with the help of the Avalon Rikudo Akira, but he has not noticed that Akira is the mastermind behind everything. He has not expressed this opinion to anyone, but his belief that the Death Attribute is something that should not exist in this world is growing stronger by the day. Incidentally, both his wife Narumi and their second child that she is carrying are currently in good health. Amamiya Narumi, 30 years old, female, the girl that Amamiya Hiroto, Vandali, tried to save on the spot before he died on Earth. After being reincarnated in origin, she tried to thank argument, but that was the beginning of their romance and relationship. After exterminating the undead, they got married, had their first child and were told by Pluto that she is currently pregnant with their second. Narumi is under the impression that Amamiya Hiroto did not reincarnate in origin, and does not hold any particular sense of suspicion towards her husband. However, she has vaguely noticed that the atmosphere around Rikudo Akira is strange. She possesses the cheat-like ability known as Angel, which is similar to telepathy, linking her thoughts to her companions to not only communicate with them, but share their senses as well, through any kind of communications jamming devices. Until she was saved by Amamiya Hiroto on Earth, she didn't have any thoughts regarding him other than as an unmemorable classmate, just like the other reincarnated individuals. Indukuya, 30 years old, male, possesses the Oracle, an ability that causes his questions to be answered by some unknown being. However, during this volume, his body was taken over by Shade, which allowed Shade to get away with all kinds of things, and then he was forced to commit suicide with a hand grenade in the end. Shade's methods were crude, but even so, the damage was not prevented because the Bravers were over-reliant on the Oracle. He is one of the few among the Bravers who believed in the existence of a god while he was on Earth, but after his death, he was told by Rod Corti that his oracle should have been named Archive instead. He is certain that this is not the god that he believes in. He does not have any intention of trying to kill Vandali once he is reincarnated in Lambda, but he is wondering what he will be able to do, as his oracle is unable to gain information from the souls of Veda's races. Rikudo Akira, 31 years old, male, the reincarnated individual who was granted the plainest cheat-like abilities among the Bravers, increased learning speed and unlimited development. In origin, where the status and skill system does not exist, his skills and knowledge cannot be quantified in numbers. However, while the other reincarnated individuals mastered their use of their cheat-like abilities, Akira spent that time studying magic and gathering knowledge, and he was given the code name of Avalon after becoming one of the most accomplished, ideal mages among the Bravers. However, he is simply a reincarnated individual whose learning is fast and without limit. His potential can be reached by any other human as well. Unlike his companions who possess cheat-like abilities that cannot be replicated by others, no matter where he goes, he is simply thought of as an ordinary person who has worked very hard. This caused the development of a strong complex within him, and this became the reason he devoted himself to the idea of becoming a superhuman beyond ordinary people. He is aware that the undead was Amamiya Hiroto and believes that the death attribute is something that was created from a cheat-like ability. Judging from the fact that Hiroto was able to partially grant the 8th guidance the death attribute, he suspects that there is a possibility that he himself can develop the death attribute on his own. On the surface, he pretends to be an amicable, rational person, but in reality, he looks down on everyone other than himself. He does not consider them to be organisms on the same level as him. He has a personality that is capable of utilizing and discarding anyone in order to achieve his goals. He falsified the death of the metamorph Shinmari, used magic and drugs to brainwash her to use as his pawn, and has used the death attribute as bait to gather other members of the Bravers, as well as important figures in political and business circles of every nation, as allies. Naturally, he is unaware that all of his actions have been revealed to the reincarnated individuals who have died. Minami Asagi, 31 years old, male, a reincarnated individual who possesses the Mage Masher cheat-like ability that nullifies the power of all attributes, particularly those magical in nature. He was a member of the track and field club when he was on Earth, and maintains his sports-oriented mindset, still clinging on to past relationships on Earth. He wants the other reincarnated individuals to think like him as well. Because of this, Murakami Junpei thought of him as annoying even before thinking about leaving the Bravers. He was once strongly opposed to Amamiya Hiroto, who seemed to be nothing special other than having a name similar to a classmate's, taking leadership. But after a fierce contest in which they compared their skills, he came to acknowledge Hiroto. He is not a bad person, but he has a strong tendency to force what he believes is right onto others and believes that this is the right thing to do. He has a suffocating personality. He is a Buddhist. He knows the phrase, everyone dies as equals. He is one of the few Bravers who is physically talented, and he has mastered numerous martial arts. Incidentally, Vandali has a top-tier dislike for him in particular among the reincarnated individuals. This is the result of Asagi having good intentions and repeatedly trying to interfere with Amamiya Hiroto on Earth, a classmate who was wasting his youth. Despite that, Asagi doesn't remember Amamiya Hiroto because Hiroto was just one of the many whom Asagi perceived to be in need of guidance. Perhaps this is similar to bullies not remembering the victims they bullied once they become adults. Kono Kyuji, 30 years old, male, a reincarnated individual with the death scythe cheat-like ability that stops the movement of physical objects. Unlike Kaido Kanata, who was an ordinary student on Earth, Kyuji has always been a delinquent. After being reincarnated in Origin, he used the talent and fortune that he had been given for his own success. During this, he caused a fatal accident for a bully who tried to target him, by stopping the tires of the car that the bully's parents were driving. However, with the formation of the Bravers, he became unable to perform such acts, and was forced to act like a good person. Then, Kaido Kanata's actions were revealed, and Kyuji became unrestrained. He joined the 8th Guidance with Murakami Junpei, having only been told that they would find the right moment to kill the 8th Guidance members and sell their corpses to the governments of the various nations. However, he failed to notice until the moment before he was killed that he himself had been marked as a target. As a result, he became unable to trust anyone other than himself and attempted to use the clairvoyance Tendu Tatsuya to attack Vandali with Death Scythe, but was destroyed in return when he tried to kill Vandali's companions who were interfering. Inui Hajime, 30 years old, male, a reincarnated individual with the marionette cheat-like ability that controls the nerves of those he touches. This ability can be activated simply by using a wind attribute spell that produces static electricity to contact the target, so it was an easy-to-use ability. He has committed a number of small crimes both before and after the formation of the Bravers. On Earth, he was a boy with a weak presence, though not as much as Amamiya Hiroto, and even after reincarnating in Origin, he really lacked confidence in himself, feeling anxious that no members of the opposite sex would ever pay him any attention unless he established superiority over them. After being reincarnated in Origin, he used the talent and ability that he had been granted to try and gain confidence in himself for a period, but because he was forced to join the Bravers, he felt like he was buried among the 100 special individuals there and lost his confidence once more. That was why his dependence on his ability grew even stronger. With a strong desire to be noticed by others, he believed in Murakami Junpei who chose him as a companion, but the truth was that this was only to keep him close by so that he could be killed in the end, just like Kono Kyuji. After being made a complete fool of by Isis and dealt a fatal wound, he was killed by Tsuchiya Kaneko, so his mind has been broken and he is in a state of gynophobia. After his death, he learned everything in the divine realm, and is now unsure when the other reincarnated individuals will become his enemies. His current wish is for his self to be erased so that he can undergo an ordinary reincarnation, but there is no chance of this wish being granted. Murakami Junpei, 31 years old, male, on Earth, he was the homeroom teacher of a class that included Amamiya Hiroto. The cheat-like abilities he possesses are Chronos, an ability that delays the timing of magical phenomena and chemical reactions, and Supermana regeneration. He originally aspired to be a professional sports player, and he managed to satisfy this desire in Origin, but he was forced to join the Bravers, and his discontent accumulated within him. Though he didn't possess any sportsmanship to begin with, he was always using Chronos in a way that wouldn't be caught by judges or observing equipment to turn matches in his favor, so he later gathered a negative impression along with the revelation of his cheat-like ability. He is strong in one-on-one combat against other humans, using the attacks of his enemies, with methods such as causing accidental discharges of weapons by delaying the explosion of the gunpowder in their bullets, and prided himself in never being defeated or even wounded in battles against terrorists. However, because of this, he became knowledgeable about terrorists and caught the eye of Rikudo Akira, who made him his pawn. On Earth, he did the minimum amount of required work to fulfill his duties as a teacher, and even when the ferry sank, he did try to save the students to some extent, but after being reincarnated in Origin, he considers himself to be a different person with the same memories. Thus, he does not feel any sense of duty as a teacher anymore. He is a calm pragmatist when it comes to things other than his own desires, and though he acknowledges that it would be disadvantageous to fight Vandali head-on, he left Death Scythe to try and kill Vandali, knowing that the problem would be resolved if he succeeded. He didn't cause as much trouble for Amamiya Hiroto on Earth as Minami Asagi did, but when told that Hiroto would provide the funds required for the school field trip on his own, he said, "It'll make no difference whether or not you're there." He used Hiroto as a stress outlet, realizing that unlike the other students, Hiroto was the type who wouldn't complain no matter what. Because of this, Vandali hates him the most after Minami Asagi. Tsuchiya Kaneko, 30 years old, female, a reincarnated individual with the Venus cheat-like ability that allows her to copy and paste her memories and emotions, as well as those of others. On Earth, she was a high school girl who dreamed of being an idol, but thought that it was impossible to achieve this in reality. After being reincarnated in origin, she used her ability to seize her chance, putting in hard work as well to work as an idol. However, though she became a hero after the formation of the Bravers, this was different to what she had wanted to do and what she had wanted to be, so her discontent grew. And she accumulated feelings of irritation towards the other Bravers who were performing their roles zealously. This was the reason she accepted Murakami Junpei's offer. Also, because she came into contact with human death through natural disasters and terrorism, she has come to perceive human life more lightly. She has a self-centered personality, having a strong tendency to make decisions based on her own losses and gains. This is why she seems to want to avoid fighting Vandali at all costs. Incidentally, she feels absolutely no guilt over the fact that she killed Inui Hajime herself. Isla, vampire viscount zombie, broken, mid-30s in physical appearance, female, a vampire who was once a close aide of the pure-breed vampire Turnisha. She possesses the transformation unique skill. She was originally zealously loyal to Turnisha, but after being killed, the subject of her loyalty has shifted straight to Vandali. After becoming an undead, she was placed under Eleonora's command, but she spent her days as an outcast, unable to display her power. However, she did not rot away. She is a hard worker who seized her own chance for a better career, though perhaps it is only natural for her to be able to endure a few years in obscurity, considering that she has lived for tens of thousands of years. She specializes in torture, and while she was alive, she had dangerous-sounding jobs such as slaughtering executioner, and she was feared as a cold, cruel person by those around her. However, she seems to enjoy suffering at the hands of certain individuals, those who are superior to her. That is why she requested that Vandali grant her the title of the Eclipse King's Hound and a collar when Vandali told her that she was to be inaugurated as captain of the Dark Knight Knights Order. She has secured her status as one of Taylorsheim's leaders, but still unsatisfied. She is aiming to become Vandali's close aide, surpassing Eleonora. She is Eleonora's most recent rival. Goba, Orcus Master Tamer, 5 years old, male, one of the initial members of the new race born when the fetuses conceived between orcs and ghouls were exposed to death attribute mana. He has been selected as captain of the Black Fang Knights Order. He is the most successful among the Orcuses and is something of a leader to them. He had a child with a ghoul 3 years ago. Incidentally, the one who started breeding giga birds, chickens turned into monsters, was Goba, and it is thanks to him that fresh eggs can be eaten in Taylorsheim. He has the respect of the citizens that enjoy mayonnaise. Incidentally, Goba himself prefers miso over mayonnaise. His favorite food is roast meat with miso dare. Name, Goba. Rank, 7 race, Orcus Master Tamer level, 39 passive skills, dark vision superhuman strength, level 7 bad eating, level 1 physical resistance, level 6 strength and subordinates, level 5 disease and poison resistance, level 3 active skills, axe technique, level 7 armor technique, level 5 surpass limits, level 5 training, level 6 mount, level 5 cooking, level 2, bone man, skeleton marquis. Years old, male. Having finally acquired the dragon mount, Leo, that he wanted, he is on a mission to patrol the marshlands. The dragon's appearance is a little different to what he imagined, but a dragon is a dragon, so he is satisfied. On his days off, he clears dungeons with Leo, only the Scaled King's Nest, due to restrictions arising from Leo's size, and polishes Leo's scales. Skeleton Marquises are monsters that have never been sighted outside of when they appear in B-class dungeons, but the highlight is that he rides an enormous dragon, and those who do not know anything about him would likely assume that he was a famous dragon tamer while he was alive. Name, Bone Man. Rank, 8 race, Skeleton Marquis level, 70 passive skills, dark vision superhuman strength, level 6, level up. Strengthened attribute values, loyalty, level 6, level up. Spirit form, level 6, level up. Strengthened attribute values, mounted, level 2, new. Active skills, swordsmanship, level 7, level up. Shield technique, level 6, level up. Archery, level 6, level up. Silent steps, level 3, level up. Coordination, level 4, level up. Commanding, level 2, level up. Armor technique, level 5, level up. Mount, level 3, level up. Long distance control, level 3, new. Borkus, zombie epic hero? Years old, male. He was spending his days teaching swordsmanship to his daughter and grandchildren who had been enslaved in the Hartner Duchy and visiting his friends as they played Reversi when he heard that his hated enemy who had killed him and his companions had been placed in the training grounds. His boss, whom he views as a younger brother, tried to stop him, but in the end, he was unable to suppress the hatred within himself and conducted a revenge match, just once. Or at least, that was supposed to be the case, but due to various circumstances, he sparred with Mikhail day after day to level up, and as a result, he has reached rank 11. This made it necessary to see Mikhail's face every day, but Mikhail could not willingly open his mouth or change his expression. As a result, Borkus often spoke to him in one-sided conversation, and a strange communication through eye contact was established. It is unclear as to whether Mikhail's eye contact ability should be praised, or whether Borkus's communication ability should be praised for being able to read his eyes. Perhaps with his hatred having faded after defeating Mikhail multiple times, Borkus began to feel pity for Mikhail, so he discussed things with Giina and Zandia and then made a request to Vandali, only to have the request easily accepted in an anticlimactic manner. Zombie epic heroes have never been seen by the Adventurers Guild. This is thought to be because almost all heroes worthy of becoming epic heroes after becoming undead are noticed by the gods and their souls are turned into familiar spirits or heroic spirits. It is also likely because zombie heroes and undead heroes are unlikely to increase their rank to this point. This is because ordinary undead are driven to slaughter people by their murderous urges, they do not train themselves and gather experience through battle out of a desire to improve themselves. Name, Borkus rank, 11 race, zombie epic hero level, 2 title, Sword King passive skills, dark vision superhuman strength, level 10, level up. Physical resistance, level 7, level up. Strengthened attack power when equipped with a sword, large strengthened defense power when equipped with non-metal armor, large, level up. Intuition, level 4, level up. Mental corruption, level 5 active skills, Sword King technique, level 3. Level up. Unarmed fighting technique, level 8, level up. Archery, level 7 armor technique, level 9, level up. Transcend limits, level 1, awaken from surpass limits. Dismantling, level 6, level up. Commanding, level 2 coordination, level 6, level up. Teaching, level 1 transcend limits, magic sword, level 2, new. Giina, zombie hero, broken. Years old. Female, one of Taylorsheim's heroes, known by her title of Saint of Healing. As well as being an A-class adventurer, she was the highest-ranking member of the Church of Vida, and her healing magic and beauty was known even in the Hartner Duchy. She is also a master of the halberd. Although she is a tall Titan woman, her height is 2.7 meters. She possesses both a well-trained, beautiful physique as well as feminine curves, including a chest as abundant as Princess Livia's. However, her actual personality is that of someone who does things at her own pace, and while she is normally gentle, she is also rough, whimsical and goes into a frenzy when drunk. And she became the most fearsome person in the old Taylorsheim when enraged, causing people to tremble in fear. After becoming an undead, a magical apparatus was installed in her body by Guberman, allowing her to separate herself into two at the hips and float with only her upper half. After Vandali and Luciliano's remodeling, she became able to do this more efficiently, without losing the ability to speak. Incidentally, flying through the use of this magical apparatus consumes mana as fuel. Her type is though smaller than her, and she was always bad with housework, so in the past, she would say, Zandia should just learn how to cook and be my bride. Now, she is always accompanied by Zadaris, Ritu and Saria, and she herself is aiming for the small Vandali, who is a capable cook. Zandia accompanies her as well. When she was first rescued from Guberman, her memory was damaged here and there, and her strength was greatly decreased, but due to Vandali and Legion's surgery, she has regained her memories from while she was alive to the point that it doesn't cause her any difficulties. Currently, she calls herself unemployed and ignores new Arza's requests to reappoint her to her previous post, working hard on leveling instead to regain the strength that she had in her prime. Perhaps because she enjoys flying, she tries to take pride in it when given the opportunity. Also, she holds an interest in bodybuilding after being partially taught about it by Vandali. She has defeated the Divine Spear of Ice Mikhail once in his training dummy state, so she does not resent him much. Her resentment is directed more at the Amid Empire, the Mig Shield Nation and, most of all, the Hartner family. Crush them, hunt them down. were the first words she said upon learning of the Hartner family's betrayal of 200 years ago. The people of Taylorsheim normally believed that the son should not be punished for the sins of the father, but it seemed that her rage had erased this belief. While she was alive, the only defensive equipment she used other than her enormous shield was her armor that left much of her body exposed, giving her the appearance of a savage warrior and drawing attention to only her superhuman strength. However, she actually possessed the superior skills, Life King Magic, Life Attribute Magic, and Scent Shield Technique, as well as Healing Effect Enlargement, a unique skill that increases the effects of healing performed by the one who possesses it. She was a shield bearer and healer that specialized in defense. When she was under Gubberman's control, she was almost completely unable to display this power. She is currently equivalent to Princess Livia on the bust rankings. Incidentally, the goddess Vida is in a state of slumber, but her familiar spirits have not been destroyed, so she is capable of using the familiar spirit descent skill. However, unlike summoning familiar spirits of powerful gods like Alda, the chances of a successful invocation is low. Name, Geena rank, 8 race, zombie hero, broken level, 98 title, Scent of Healing passive skills, Dark Vision Mental Corruption, level 6 superhuman strength, level 7 physical resistance, level 7 augmented mana, level 5 strengthened attribute values, religious faith, level 8 strengthened defense power when equipped with a shield, large poison resistance, level 5 active skills, no attribute magic, level 3 Life King Magic, level 1 mana control, level 7 Halberd Technique, level 10 Scent Shield Technique, level 1 Surpass Limits, level 5 Surpass Limits, Magic Shield, level 7 Familiar Spirit Descent, level 3 Long Distance Control, level 5 Spirit Form, level 4 Unique Skills, Healing Effect Enlargement, level 5 Zandia, Zombie Hero, broken years old, female, the second princess of Taylorsheim, and though the Titan race has a low affinity for magic, she is a genius Mishuo who possesses an affinity for all attributes, except the death attribute. However, she is 2 meters tall. When she was young, she let this get to her head, but as a result of the special education that she received from Borkus, who was already known as the Sword King back then, as well as other heroes of Taylorsheim, that attitude was broken, when she learned that qualities mean nothing without training, and she did serious training in magic. As a result, she rose to become a B-class adventurer in her teenage years and became praised by her title of Tiny Genius. Because she grew up around her slightly airheaded older sister and the heroes of Taylorsheim who had great individuality, she actually became someone with common sense. After being saved from Gubberman, she was given the left hand that had been severed by Mikhail back to her like a wedding ring, after sewing it back on, and she is conscious of Vandali. She is conscious of him, but it seems that she still feels great confusion though Vandali's attitude of let's wait until things calm down could be one of the causes of this. After becoming a zombie, there are several holes in her body, and Gubberman remodeled her to be able to cast spells using a staff connected to her by special tubes. In exchange, she lost the augmented stamina skill that Titans possess from birth and was tormented by extreme pain. But now, those devices have all been removed and her body has been restored. Incidentally, she is still outside of the bust rankings, but it is thought that the volume of her chest is around the level where she contends with Zadyrus, who has a similar name to her. Also, the Tiny Genius title does not have any effects that limit the restriction of certain body parts. Almost all of her skills are magic, and this is because she spent almost all of her less than 20 years on training in magic. Even so, she normally wouldn't have been able to gain such high levels in these skills, but the effects of her Genius of Magic unique skill makes it easier than normal to gain magic-related skills. Name, Zandia rank, 8 race, zombie hero, broken level, 92 title, Tiny Genius passive skills, Dark Vision superhuman strength, level 1 magic resistance, level 1 augmented mana, level 10 increased mana recovery rate, level 6 active skills, no attribute magic, level 6 life attribute magic, level 7 light attribute magic, level 7 fire attribute magic, level 7 water attribute magic, level 7 earth attribute magic, level 7 wind attribute magic, level 7 space attribute magic, level 7 time attribute magic, level 7 mana control, level 10 dismantling, level 1 chant revocation, level 3 unique skills, Genius of Magic, the god of origin, the god of the foreign world of origin. He is not a god who created the world, but a god born from the awe, fear and religious beliefs of the humanity that appeared when life emerged after the world's creation. It is a group of gods that are divided into the individual beings that humanity awes, fears and worships. It is as if it is made of countless terminals known as gods, demons and apparitions that are connected to the God of Origin server. It is in a similar state to Legion. The difference is that these beings do not cooperate with each other. Because it is as if all of the gods of every religion and all of their enemies have been packed into one large room, so they are constantly interfering with each other. Because of this, the existence of this god does not make a difference in origin. Large-scale, God-created miracles or disasters don't happen. However, due to the persuasion of one of Lambda's gods, Zero-1, the god of space and creation, as well as Rod Corty's daily evil acts, it worked towards a single cause for the first time. It is rare for the God of Origin to grant its divine protection. When it does try to grant someone its divine protection, it is interfered with. Legion is the only one in present times with its divine protection. Incidentally, the reason Origin is utilizing Rod Corty's Circle of Transmigration system is simply because Rod Corty took control of the reincarnation of all of Origin's life forms before the God of Origin was born. Rod Corty, God of Reincarnation, a god who manages reincarnation in multiple worlds. He has existed since long before the creation of not only Origin and Lambda, but Earth as well. He is a god, but he does not have believers in any world, and his existence is not recognized by any other than other gods. He maintains the energy he requires to exist by the workings of his circle of transmigration systems. In cases of worlds like Origin, where the world is created first and then humans create the god afterwards, Rod Corty's method of acquiring authority over the reincarnation of new worlds is to simply insert himself into the world's system. He does this as if invading and occupying an undiscovered, uninhabited island, and once a god is born, he simply notifies them of his presence. In cases of worlds like Lambda, where gods create the world, he makes deals with the newly born, pure gods and suggests to them that he manages reincarnation for the world. If refused, he gives up there, and when accepted, he inserts himself into the system. Since Rod Corty's systems are generally exceptionally stable, they normally operate without any difficulties. Thus, he does not often have any conflicts with gods of worlds other than Lambda, which was invaded by the Demon King who was capable of breaking souls, and Origin, which he used as a training grounds for the reincarnated individuals. The development of Talersheim, population, approximately 15,200, ghouls, undead, black goblins, Anubises, Orcuses, titans, humans, beast people, dwarves, Sylar, half-elves, lizardmen, Armans, vampires, golems and cursed weapons are not included in the population. Facilities in Talersheim, Mercury Miragolems, Explorers Guild, Trading Post, Distribution Center, Job Changing Room, Church of Vida, with statues of subordinate gods, Zero-1 and Rickland, public bathhouses, carts of all kinds, publicly managed casino, immortal int forest, golem factories of all kinds, monster plant fields, training dummy grounds, inhabited by undead heroes from Alda's faction, such as Mikhail, new. Theater, under construction, new. Artistic paintings that remain in the minds of those who view them, entire paintings cannot be viewed except from the sky, new. B-Class Dungeon X1, Class Dungeon X2, D-Class Dungeon X3, Marshlands, Lizardman District, Capricorn Farm, Capricorn Milking Factory, Explorers Guild Branch, Small Shrine to Fidig, the Dragon God of Five Sins, Mental Encroachment Stone Circle, new. D-Class Dungeon X1, B-Class Dungeon X1, Marshlands, Sylar District, Paddy Fields, Mudbath Hot Springs, Small Shrine to Marie Vale. The heroic goddess of the Sylar, Explorers Guild Branch, Huge Capybara Farm, Duck Farm, Mental Encroachment Stone Circle, Temporary Base for the Dark Knight Knights Order, Notchen, Sauron Liberation Front Base, Former Sylar Territory, Mental Encroachment Stone Circle, Mental Encroachment Stone Circle. Chapter 130, The first day in the southern region, I met a spider-san at the edge of the forest. Volume 7, Advancing into the Southern Region. After a week of preparation, the participating members for dealing with the Noble Orc Empire to the south beyond the marshlands were announced. First was Vandali, along with the ghosts that would help him with dead spirit magic, and everyone he was equipping using plant binding technique and insect binding technique. The Black Fang Knights Order led by Gorba, composed of the Orcuses who could mount monsters, a total of 10 members and 10 mounts. The Sword King Borkus, who had increased his rank and become a zombie epic hero. Zadyrus, Vigoro and Bazdia, who had also succeeded in increasing their ranks. Bone Man, as well as Eleonora, who had succeeded in becoming rank 10. It wasn't certain that this would become a war, so there hadn't been any particular departure ceremony because it would be problematic if everyone got too excited and then charged into attack. Come to think of it, this is the first time we're invading another nation head-on. We've only ever been invaded, and we didn't invade the Hartner Duchy from the front," said Borkus, speaking dangerous words even without such a departure ceremony. "We are not invading them, Borkus. We will see the situation first and talk with them," said Princess Livia, scolding him. "Things would likely have turned out badly if there had been a ceremony. We'll be working hard and getting stronger while His Majesty Khan and everyone else is away, so help us out next time," said Jaina. "I don't think there will be a next time, though," said Zandia. It seemed that the two of them intended to continue leveling even without Zadaris and Borkus. Zandia had regained much of the power that she had possessed while alive, but Jaina had apparently not been able to do so. "Why must I join you? I will die if I enter a B-class dungeon," shouted a pale-faced Luciliano, who was being held by Jaina by the scruff of his neck like a kitten. So that you can take responsibility for peeking? I'm not married yet, you know," Jaina said. "That was due to my insuppressible scientific interest, and are you not the one who ran out wearing only a single surgery gown, holding Master in one hand?" It seemed that Luciliano, who had suffered multiple broken ribs during that incident, was not satisfied with this reasoning. "With Zadaris-san gone, we lack mages in our party," Zandia continued. "We tried inviting Kuka-san, but when we mentioned B-class dungeons, she said, 'Spare me, I'll die.' I'm telling you that I would die as well, am I not? Aren't you a former class adventurer, Luciliano-san? You'll do better than Kuka-san, since she is a former D-class adventurer. She is clearly stronger than I am now. Though I would indeed do better than her." Note, the verb for do better here can be used in a variety of ways. I believe Luciliano is implying that he is better looking than Kuka. For a former class adventurer, especially one that was not well suited to fighting like Luciliano, stepping into a B-class dungeon was suicidal. It would be possible for him to return alive if he were to join an adventurer party made of B-class or A-class adventurers with previous experience of clearing B-class dungeons, providing support and carrying luggage while staying out of the firing line as much as possible. However, Jaina and Zandia still hadn't regained the strength they had possessed when they were alive. Ritu and Saria would join them as well, but Luciliano still seemed anxious. The shallow floors of B-class dungeons are no different in difficulty from class dungeons, so it's fine. "But you can't go to the deeper floors until Luciliano gets used to it," said Vandali. "Okay," said Jaina. "No, Master, the problem at hand is that I would rather perform research than leveling." You can watch Jaina and Zandia fight from close up, so it's fine, isn't it? If I consider it to be a place where I can gather precious data, then I suppose a little fieldwork once in a while is not so bad. And so, Luciliano was persuaded. "Look, Basdia. It's our new rival," said Vigoro. His two pairs of arms crossed as he looked at Jaina and Zandia. He had become a rank 9 ghoul arch-tyrant with a third eye appearing on his forehead. "I'm not quite sure you can call her your rival, Vigoro, but she's definitely a rival for me," said Basdia, who had become a ghoul Amazoness Geronimo, as she glared at Jaina and Zandia as well. "Why? Are you saying that my muscles are inferior to those biceps brachii, those ripped abdominal muscles and those powerful latissimus dorsii and trapezius muscles?" said Vigoro. It seemed that Vigoro's declaration was ignoring the sex of his rival. He had gained a king-like personality after his rank increased, but even after gaining such a robust, impressive body, it seemed that he viewed Jaina as a threat. He was inferior in volume, after all. "I don't think you are inferior, but if you're going to ask why I said that, it's because she's a female warrior. If one had to say, it's more reasonable to consider her my rival," said Basdia. Basdia's appearance hadn't changed since her rank increased other than the patterns on her skin changing a little, but the air around her was impressive. It wasn't as impressive as Vigoro's, but it was worthy of the Geronimo, elder, race title that she had gained. Her body had sturdy, powerful muscles that were not at all inferior to Jaina's, while also possessing abundant feminine curves and appeal. She would not be inferior to Jaina even if they were to both take side chest and most muscular poses. "That's true. Don't lose to them," said Vigoro. "Of course. The father of Jidal's younger brother or sister is going to be Van, after all." Vigoro and Basdia nodded together like comrades who respected one another. Though the two of them had likely forgotten, they were father and daughter. Basdia had been born during a time when children were raised by the entire village, so she had a weak awareness of her father, unlike the mother who had given birth to her. Perhaps because of this, Vigoro and Basdia acknowledged each other with a relationship that was not that of a father and daughter, but one between a leader of warriors and a young warrior, and it seemed that they had no thoughts of changing this. Also, though this was only natural, they did not consider Giina and Zandia as rivals, but rather Giina herself. Mother is doing her best to not lose to Zandia, too, Basdia said. Zadyrus, you've known Vandali for a long time and you've even performed artificial respiration on him, so you won't lose to Zandia. I guarantee it, said Vigoro. I do not view Zandia as a rival, how many times must I tell you? Zadyrus said indignantly. Vigoro and Basdia believed that Zandia was Zadyrus's rival. It is true that her name is similar to mine. I also admit that my figure is young. I will not deny that Zandia has the advantage in magic as well, as she possesses an affinity for many attributes. However, there is no need for me to compete with her. Leaving aside our skill in magic, there is no future for us. Zadyrus had started speaking with vigor, but towards the end, her face fell. As a ghoul, she had stopped aging physically from the time she became pregnant with her first child, and Zandia was a zombie, so their futures were shrouded in darkness in terms of physical development. No, we might change if our ranks increase, you know? Said Zandia herself. As a ghoul, I don't know how you look after increasing your rank further than that, but it's enough to make you grow extra eyes and arms, so won't you develop physically as well? And once my rank increases, my chest will go boing boing, I see, so there is a possibility through increasing our ranks. Oh, Zandia, I must thank you. You are a true friend. Zadyrus exclaimed. I'm glad I made you happy. Zadyrus was overjoyed, but she had been accompanying Zandia and the others in their leveling as well and become a rank 9 ghoul high wizard, so her next rank increase was likely far off for now. In any case, this is the nation that exiled Bugogan. I'm sure noble orcs as strong as Bugogan aren't unusual there. If they're going to stand in our way, let's hunt them down one by one, said Vigoro. We've become stronger as well. Kaka and the others were saying, kill them if they don't listen, too, said Basdia. Everyone had become unbelievably strong compared to when they fought the pack of orcs led by the noble orc Bugogan about 6 years ago. Vigoro, Zadyrus and Basdia as they were now would be able to defeat the Bugogan of back then with ease. Meanwhile, away from Zadyrus and the others, Vandali was saying farewell to everyone who was reluctant to part with him for this short while. Vandali, do you have a handkerchief? After drinking blood, you have to wipe your mouth with a handkerchief, not your sleeve. Also, don't eat organs raw just because you have the status effect resistance skill. Make sure to be careful to not leave your body behind and get up with just your spirit form when you're half asleep, said Dasa. Yes, Mom. By the way, I'm intending to come back every few days, Vandali said. Dana-sama, though it is arrogant of me to say this, we shall protect Dasa-sama in your absence, said Belmond. Tara was weeping a little. We will be separate for a while, won't we? I am very reluctant about this. Phew, I have to save up my fill of bochin while I can, said Rita. When you run out, you feel like you can't calm down, don't you? Said Saria. Ah, bochin. May I join in with my daughters? Said Sam. Van, you have to make sure you come back safely, said Porvina. Van Kun, even if you meet someone with a lot of legs over there, you can't forget about me. My legs have suction cups. Said Privel. Calm down, groaned Rapisage. Bold said Yamata. Everyone, we can make a round trip with teleportation with the undead our lord, so he could even come back every day, you know? We explained this before, didn't we? Said Legion, but it seemed that the fired-up atmosphere of farewell wouldn't really change. See you later, Gorba. We'll keep watch here. If the reincarnated individuals come here, we'll defeat them all, said Braga. I'm here, too, said Zemedo. Taylorsheim has no flaws. Braga, Zemedo, Mamadiga, take care of my family, said Gorba. Leave it to us, said Mamadiga. Gorba said his farewells to the Black Goblin Braga and the Anubises Zemedo and Mamadiga, who had been raised as if they were siblings ever since they were born. While you remain behind, I will serve Vandali-sama well, so rest assured. While you remain behind, said Eleonora. Well, that is reassuring. I can be at ease knowing that my former superior will be with him. You have become free now that you do not have any subordinates, said Isla. The two of them smiled as they exchanged a handshake. Smiles that looked as if they had been pasted onto their faces, unsmiling eyes, audible creaking sounds. It was not a heartwarming scene. "Is this what is called a relationship of formidable enemies that are friends?" said Vandali. Note, this is a reference to Fist of the North Star, quite a famous line. It kind of means rivals that are friends. "Oun?" Notchen, who had taken the form of a fort, gave a curious cry. There were many heavyweight members, including the Black Fang Knight's Order, so Vandali couldn't carry them even if he were to fly by transforming his spirit form into that of a strange bird. And more importantly, the exact location of the Noble Orc Empire wasn't known, so the Notchen Fort would act as their base of operations for now. The Lizardmen and Noble Orcs had not interacted for many years, so nobody knew the exact location of the Noble Orc Empire. It was probably possible to find it within a few days if Vandali searched from the skies by using lemurs, which were flying, transparent, skull-shaped familiars, and undead insects. In the southern region of the continent, which was sandwiched by the boundary mountain range to the east and west, an empire of 3-meter-tall noble orcs would stand out. However, if this scouting was detected, it might immediately be taken as an act of hostility. Monsters with sharp senses could detect lemurs and undead insects. It was certainly possible that the noble orcs, who had maintained an empire in a continent rampant with such monsters for over 100,000 years, would be able to sense them. It was uncertain as to what kinds of monsters would be inhabiting the areas around the Noble Orc Empire, but it was possible that there were monsters that could make their bodies transparent. If there were, then it would be only natural for the Noble Orcs to have ways to keep those monsters from invading their territory. It would be terrible if the relationship with the orcs turned volatile and started a war, only to later realize that they were good orcs all along. That was why the plan was for Vandali and the others to go out to scout while the Dark Knight's Order would remain in the Notchen Fort to stay alert for monster invasions. "But your amateur swordsmanship that relies on the Orichalcum weapon is worrying," said Isla. "Have you trained properly, Eleonora O'Judgeon?" "It's alright, I've done my leveling properly so that I won't have to worry." Isla Oberson, whose prided sword was blocked and her head cut off by amateur swordsmanship, said Eleonora. The insuppressible bloodthirst of the two spread around their surroundings. Vandali thought that at this point, it might be best for them to simply brawl and then start with a refreshed relationship, but for some reason, they were both maintaining a handshake and trying to crush each other's hands while conducting psychological warfare. Both of them had the superhuman strength skill, which gave them a grip powerful enough to crush the skulls of beasts, but they also both possessed the rapid regeneration skill, so even if one of their hands were completely crushed, it would recover several hours later. But they knew that the dominant hand would become unusable for several hours, so they seemed to be avoiding this. "Isla Dono, please take care of my Leo. I would be most pleased if you could polish his scales every once in a while. However, he will bite and tear your hand if you put it in his mouth, so please be careful," said Bone Man, who would be leaving his Mount Leo behind as it wasn't well suited for moving other than in marshlands and other waterside areas. But it seemed that his words didn't reach Isla, who was busy with her battle against Eleonora. Vandali spoke up to stop the quarreling. "No magic, no martial skills, no flying. The first to down the other wins. Fight." Eleonora and Isla immediately began grappling each other in earnest with both arms. They began attempting to trip each other with their legs to make the other lose their balance. A judo-like battle between two beautiful women began, with enough power in their moves to beat even a dinosaur to death, never mind a bear. "Jayu, my lord, would you not normally stop them?" asked Bone Man. "Once things are settled, I think both of them will calm down for a while," said Vandali. Notchen seemed to be a little troubled due to having become the stage for this battle, but the bones that he was made of were stronger than stone, so there wouldn't be any problems. Vandali and the others watched the fight between the two unfold for a while, but then they suddenly smelled a scent of blood on the wind. "I can smell a little blood," said Vandali. "Perhaps a skirmish between monsters or goblins eating each other," said Bone Man. Very few monsters entered the marshlands, as the environment was very different, but it wasn't unusual for monsters living near each other to kill each other. Roars and dying screams on such occasions reached the Notchen Fort on a daily basis. Each time this happened, Notchen's skeletons or the vampire zombies of the Dark Knight's Order would go to investigate, but only found monsters unrelated to the Empire hunting, so almost no information had been gained. Vandali had gathered a number of spirits as well, but they were not very intelligent and had only lived in a small area, so they hadn't given any hints regarding the noble Orc Empire. Normally, Vandali would have left Notchen and the Dark Knight's order to check on things as usual. "I have a strange feeling about this," said Vandali. He had felt unnaturally restless after smelling the blood. He was uneasy, feeling a sense of danger for a reason he couldn't explain. Even though he didn't have the intuition skill, nor was this a reaction from danger sense, death. "I'll go and have a look," he said. "Jayu? You will go yourself, my lord?" Bone Man said, flustered. Having realized what was going on, Eleonora and Isla turned around while still grappling with each other. "Wait, Vandali-sama, it's dangerous," said Eleonora. "Yes. Please leave it to us," shouted Isla. But Vandali rose into the air with flight. "It's all right," he said. "I'm never alone." With those words, Princess Livia, Orbia and Kimberly appeared around him. "Now that you mention it, that's true. Please come back if anything happens," Eleonora said. "Jayu, I will contact Vigoro and the others," said Bone Man. Eleonora, Bone Man and Isla calmed down when they realized that Vandali wasn't alone. "Okay," Vandali said as he flew away from the fort. "But your majesty, we still do not know what's there, so would it not be best to keep death attribute magic, including dead spirit magic, concealed?" said Princess Livia. "Unlike orcs, noble orcs are monsters that are about as intelligent as humans. I think it's best to hide as much as information as we can, just in case," said Kimberly. "Eh? Isn't that a pain? Is that how it is?" said Orbia. "Apparently so, Orbia," said Vandali. "Well then, heeding Princess Livia and Kimberly's advice, Pete, Cull, Ison, I'm counting on you. Bugich. Ho ho ho. Jizania gave a bitter smile as she looked at her remaining 10 enemies, who were letting out coarse laughter, through her 2 regular eyes as well as her compound eyes. "Bke, got the enemy's commander," one of the noble orcs, cleared his throat and called out to Jizania not in the noble orc language, but with human words. "We have been bested by you quite thoroughly," he said. "Through the instructions of our god Rivavifad, we noticed that you and your ilk were trying to involve us in war with the lizards of the marshlands, so we hastily attacked you, but to think that we would lose 2/3 of our troops and let Princess Cornelia escape, we underestimated the secret medicine that is said to be passed on in your tribe." The noble orc was provoking Jizania, but at the same time, he couldn't conceal his excitement. Jizania responded in a matter-of-fact manner. "That is because you underestimate our tribe. With only a single noble orc and a handful of orcs and kobolds that are barely skilled enough to be used as familiars, this is the natural result. Though you take pride in your strength, in the end, you are just usurpers. It appears that you do not have any soldiers with resolve. You bastard. You dare ridicule Bugitus, the new Emperor Bugich." The noble orc was immediately enraged, to the point of humor. It wouldn't have been strange for his mushroom-shaped blonde hair to stand on end. "Fugu. I thought that we would at least grant you an honorable death, but it seems that you wish to be tormented first. We will cut off all of your arms and legs and then violate you until you die." The noble orc shouted with orc language words mixed into his speech, saliva flying from his mouth. The surviving orcs around him let out a cheer. Their eyes were bloodshot with greed. "Even for the secret medicine, it's working too well," Jizania whispered to herself in her mind as she tried to give a provocative smile. Her mouth was stiff, so she couldn't do so properly. By using the secret medicine, she had succeeded in drawing the noble orcs to herself, away from Princess Cornelia. Not only that, but she had been setting traps for them as she ran, killing her enemies as they approached her one at a time, reducing their numbers considerably. But in return, she had lost all of the legs on the right side of her body and her left arm was broken as well. Now that she couldn't fight any longer, she had no choice but to use her remaining secret medicine and buy time using her body. No matter what cruel fate she met, her tribe would praise her devotion. They would certainly remember her end as a proud one. But she couldn't completely deny that she was frustrated and scared. Considering what was going to happen to her body now, she would rather end her own life. But even orcs were unlikely to lust after a corpse. If it was going to end this way, perhaps I should have chosen my partner as my mother told me to. But I will not go down without a fight. Jizania exclaimed. You have courage. If you survive, you will make a good breeding mother. Do. The moment the noble orc was about to give the order for the orcs to attack, the head of an enormous centipede with enormous black horns appeared from the thicket right between him and Jizania. Excuse me, the centipede said. Eh? Huh? Jizania and the noble orc looked at each other, completely bewildered. The other orcs opened their bloodshot eyes wide and blinked blankly. Not taking any notice of this, the giant centipede, or rather, Vandali, who was clinging to Pete's stomach, asked a question. "I'll ask just to be sure, but is the wounded person over there an Arachne and you a noble orc?" Vandali looked at the noble orc who could speak human words, and at the Arachne Jazania, a member of the Veda-created Arachne race that possessed the lower bodies of spiders, who was resting her weight against an enormous sword. "I don't know what the situation is, but based on what I overheard of the conversation, I'm thinking of helping the Arachne. There's no problem with this, is there?" Vandali was asking just in case Jazania was actually an evil criminal and the noble orc was a diligent pig-like official. One might have expected that there would be no response to this question. Unexpectedly, there was one. "Who is this guy? A monster tamed by one of the guys worshipping the gods on Veda's side?" shouted the noble orc. "Leaving aside who is good or evil, I've now figured out who I need to defeat," Vandali said. Vandali was the holy son of Veda, so there was no problem in fighting monsters that opposed her believers. Pete bared his fangs and let out a roar as lightning covered his horns. Name, Vigoro. Rank, 9. Race, Ghoul Tyrant. Level, 1. Job, Great Axe Master. Job level, 11. Job history, Apprentice Warrior, Warrior, Axeman, Axe Master, Magic Axe User. Age, 172 years old. Passive skills, Dark Vision, transformed from Night Vision. Superhuman Strength, level 9, level up. Pain Resistance, level 5, level up. Paralyzing Venom Secretion, Claws, level 4, level up. Strengthened attribute values when equipped with an axe, large, level up. Active skills, Axe Technique, level 10, level up. Unarmed Fighting Technique, level 6, level up. Commanding, level 5, level up. Coordination, level 6, level up. Deforestation, level 3, level up. Dismantling, level 2, level up. Shield Technique, level 3, level up. Surpass Limits, level 4, new. Surpass Limits, Magic Axe, level 3, new. Parallel Thought Processing, level 3, new. Monster Explanation, Ghoul Tyrant. A monster whose name does not remain in the Adventurers Guild's records, of whom there are only a few descriptions in ancient documents held by the Mages Guild. It has been recorded that when numerous great individuals are acknowledged among Ghoul Tyrants, the most exceptional among them undergoes a ritual to place tattoos on his body with an eye on his forehead as the motif. The above description is that of the concept of a Ghoul Tyrant. It is thought that such previously cited beings are simply Ghoul Tyrants that are more powerful than the rest that have been mistaken for something greater. Of course, there are no previous actual sightings of this monster. Job Explanation, Great Axe Master. The job that exists at the top of all axe-wielding jobs. It is said that all individuals who have previously acquired this job have left their names in history. If noble, those with this job would be known for their prowess both within and beyond their nations, and if they are an adventurer, they are naturally at least A class. Side Story Chapter 21, The Reincarnated Individuals Counseling. Following the destruction of the Death-side Kono Kyuji, the reincarnated individuals continued to exchange their arguments and worrying about the future. However, they could not all come to an agreement. The reason was that Kono Kyuji's words and actions had made it clear that all of the reincarnated individuals thought in a definitively different manner. And so, Shimada Izumi and Machida ran, in Rod Corty's place, forced to take Rod Corty's place, provided the reincarnated individuals with information, answered their questions and offered their opinions. In other words, it's impossible to be reincarnated as a member of a race that he holds dear to him? Shouted the marionette Inui Hajime, saliva almost flying from his mouth despite him not having a physical body. Yes, that's right, Izumi said, looking fed up. Incidentally, that's the 12th time I've answered that question. You're sure, right? I'm sure. Incidentally, that's the 13th. It seemed that even Izumi, who had become a familiar spirit with no physical body and had a different sense of time, felt mental fatigue at having to answer the same question over and over. There's no way we can believe you so easily, right? You've stooped low enough to become minions for that fraud of a god. With the people asking the questions taking this kind of attitude, it couldn't be helped that Izumi felt like it was all pointless. And Izumi could even tell through her inspection ability, which could see through all kinds of falsehoods, that she was being genuinely doubted. If you can't trust me, Then I don't think there's any point in asking me any questions any number of times, she said. It was only to be expected that she would say this and leave. Inui was not a precious companion to Izumi. He was a traitor who had sided with Murakami and the others, and Izumi knew that he hadn't stopped Murakami and the Eighth Guidance from eliminating her and ran. She pitied him for the fact that he had later been betrayed by Tsuchiya Kaneko, who he had thought was his ally, but she couldn't consider him an important companion now. He was even genuinely abusing her verbally, so she didn't want to persuade him gently. Damn it. Don't look down at me. Inui looked outraged for a moment after having Izumi point out something that he knew himself, but his face turned pale and he let out a shriek as he turned around and ran away. This makes it look like I threatened him, doesn't it? Izumi muttered. The truth was that the symptoms of Inui's gynophobia had shown themselves. Of course, even without that phobia, it was impossible for him to harm the familiar spirit Izumi, as he himself was nothing but a human soul. At this rate, I don't think he'll think of opposing Vandali, so I don't really care. Meanwhile, Machida-ran was answering the questions of the Chronos Murakami Junpei and his group with a sullen expression on his face. So, in other words, it's impossible to take the latest weapons from Origin and Earth? Murakami asked. Yeah, it's the same as when Kaito Kanata was reincarnated. According to that god, everyone is naked when they're first born, Aran said. Can't he do something about it? The chosen heroes are normally supposed to be granted a holy sword by the god, right? Look here, what kind of god would give state-of-the-art weapons including crystals based on modern science and magical knowledge in place of a holy sword? Aran answered the questions in an exasperated tone, but Murakami didn't seem to be satisfied with the answers. Left with no choice, he decided to elaborate. What would you even do with state-of-the-art weapons? What about the parts needed for maintenance and the fuel needed to power them? Do you intend to make the gunpowder by hand? I don't really intend to use them multiple times. I just need to use them once. Well, that doesn't apply for the magical media, though, said Murakami. What Murakami and his group wanted was a state-of-the-art stealth fighter like the one that the Noa Mao had piloted before her death in Origin, transport helicopters, lightweight missiles that could be used to attack from afar if possible, nuclear and hydrogen bombs. Not only those, but all kinds of various other things such as magical media that assisted in reciting and casting spells, bodysuits made of special materials and military-grade knives. The reason they wanted these was so that they could use them to kill Vandali. It seemed that Murakami's group had decided on becoming assassins to erase Vandali. Indeed, it would be difficult even for Vandali to completely block a surprise attack from a tactical nuclear warhead or a hydrogen bomb. Even without these, Murakami and his group had plenty of chance to win if they could make full use of modern weaponry with their cheat-like abilities. However, this was a thought that had occurred to everyone. And there was a reason that this idea hadn't been put into practice yet. It would be difficult even to fire these weapons once, Aran said. They could even explode the moment they're brought into Lambda. What? What do you mean? Murakami exclaimed in surprise. Aran continued grimacing as he replied. You guys might have forgotten this, but it's a different world, you know? It's only natural for the laws of physics to be different. Earth, Origin, Lambda. There are differences in the force of gravity, where the magic exists and the number of attributes. The worlds are similar, but they're like different planets. Indeed, the three worlds had different laws of physics. The creation-minded champions led by Zakat had once tried to recreate Earth's tactical nuclear weaponry in order to defeat the Demon King. However, the goddess Veda stopped them, saying that modern weaponry designed with Earth's laws of physics in mind would be unusable or possibly even simply explode if recreated in the exact same way in Lambda. Even the magical media, what are known as Mage's staves, designed for Origin would have problems because the time attribute, which didn't exist in Origin, existed in Lambda. Thus, there was no guarantee that they would have the same effect even if they were brought into Lambda exactly as they were. The more complicated something is to create, the more dangerous it is. Well, a lightweight missile would simply be a little different in its power and firing range, so those could probably still be used without problems, though, Aran said. It was Murakami's turn to grimace as he pondered this. What was that god trying to make us do after gathering experience in a world with different laws of physics? Our knowledge and technology aren't going to be of any use. And from what we saw with Tendu's clairvoyance, it looked like Vandali has been introducing technology and knowledge from Earth and Origin into Lambda, one after another. If what you say is true, wouldn't that city be a mountain of rubble by now? said the hecate Shirogdug Atlas. Aran let out a deep sigh. Oi, what's with your attitude? Doug demanded. I'm tired of how stupid you guys are. What Vandali is doing is completely different from what you guys are asking for, Aran said. You guys are asking to directly bring in weapons and creations from another world, exactly as they are. On the other hand, Vandali was reborn in Lambda and is using resources in Lambda to recreate technology from other worlds. What Vandali is doing fits in with Lambda's laws of physics. Even the cooking of a single dish involves all kinds of chemical reactions during the cooking process. It is as a result of these that a dish on Earth is perfected to deliciousness. So how could the same dishes be created in the foreign world of Lambda? That was because not everything was completely different, just because it was a different world. Of course, if the chemical reactions were studied in detail, there would certainly be differences between the worlds. However, the differences were too small to take practical notice of. From the time that Vandali was cooking for himself on Earth to the time that he was reborn in Lambda, there had been a 20-year-long blank space, during which he was able to gather information in Origin but was unable to actually test it and put it into practice. Even if Vandali noticed the differences in Lambda, he simply thought it was his imagination. When the dishes weren't delicious when cooked with the same recipe as on Earth, he just needed to conduct trial and error until they were. Using lye water to make ramen from wheat dough and even making soap, paper, mayonnaise and ketchup were all based on knowledge from Earth and Origin, but he would have performed trial and error to make it work well in Lambda. Hey, Murakami-san, if you manufacture the weapons you want so badly using materials that exist in Lambda and perform a lot of trial and error, you should be able to make something that works with Lambda's laws of physics, you know? In other words, Aran was telling Murakami to build them himself after being reincarnated. Of course, he knew that what he was saying was impossible. Look here, you know that we'd have no way to create modern-day weapons on our own using the required parts when we don't even know the methods needed to make those parts, said Murakami. Metal parts could be made to some extent by hiring a blacksmith. But there was no way that Murakami and the others had remembered all of the parts needed for a state-of-the-art stealth fighter or transport helicopters, and the parts were made of alloys rather than iron or copper. And going from machine creating to hand creating the semiconductors needed in the computers controlling the fuselages was definitely impossible. Did the fuel needed to power these war machines even exist in Lambda? Even if Murakami and his allies spent years of effort, it was questionable as to whether they could even create a human-powered aircraft that operated by pedaling to turn the propellers. TCH, so it would be muskets or cannons that use gunpowder at best, Murakami muttered. Magic would have more power than that, and be easier to use, too, said Doug. Signal flares would probably be useful, but isn't it better to not rely on weapons, then? Said the Odin Hasamaduaki. Ah, really? I wonder how he intended for us to develop the world, the Venus Tsuchiya Kaneko sighed. I don't really intend to defend him, Aran said. I've said it over and over, but there are no problems with using trial and error using knowledge from Earth and Origin after being reincarnated in Lambda. And we never heard anything about killing Vandali when we were reborn in Origin. He probably wasn't really hoping that we'd make weapons. But despite that, the creation of gunpowder is apparently forbidden in that Lambda world. It's a world where a god who denies the knowledge of other worlds holds a lot of power, right? Said Murakami. About that, the god, Rod Corti himself, thought that we would make things work out with hard work, since we were the ones chosen by him. There are 101 of us, and even if 100 of us failed, he thought that it would be fine as long as the last one succeeded. That god is a thorough piece of shit. I'm starting to wonder whether that's actually harder than killing Vandali. The truth was that even if the reincarnated individuals didn't bring their knowledge from other worlds into Lambda, Rod Corti would have considered it development for the world if they used their magic and cheat-like abilities to exterminate beings that threatened the prosperity of the races he considered to be people, the humans, elves and dwarves, while pressing the dark elves, Scylla and vampires to extinction or a near-extinction state. Now that Murakami finally seemed convinced, Aran asked him a question in return. More importantly, I have a question. Why do you trust what I say? You're the one who killed me, you know, Murakami-san? Indeed, Murakami was the criminal who had killed Aran and Izumi. The two of them would certainly feel hatred and a desire for revenge against him. But Murakami's face remained the same as he answered, seeming bored. Yeah, that's why I asked you in detail. Why we can't do things, why we can do things. I'll ask about everything and then ask the god the same thing later. If the god says something different, and what he says is inconvenient to you, then that makes you a liar. You know all about that idiot. Aran groaned. Rod Corti generally did not tell lies. At times where it was inconvenient for him, he would simply say, I cannot do that, or, I cannot say, but would not give any detailed reasons as to why he could not do or say something. There were also cases where he never stated his true intentions from the beginning, but he didn't tell clever lies and was probably incapable of doing so. This was likely due to his personality rather than some restriction having been placed on him. Of course, he couldn't be trusted, since he was always looking down on the reincarnated individuals from above. However, for Murakami, who intended to kill Vandali, Rod Corti was more trustworthy than Ran. Though this is an obvious question, why are you guys thinking about killing Vandali? You guys are clearly at way too much of a disadvantage, said Aran. As Death Scythe showed us before, he won't be killed just by stopping his heart. Even if you could kill him, he might just turn into an undead unless that stupid god does something about it. He has over 1 billion mana and he's more of a cheat than us, even though he doesn't have any cheat-like abilities. There's even a mountain of enemies willing to protect him. And even after you guys are reincarnated, he won't stop growing stronger. And the nail in the coffin is that he can break your souls and destroy you in a way that you won't ever come back. Murakami and his companions were certainly strong. Even without their equipment and state-of-the-art weapons from Origin, they would be able to compete with B-class adventurers in Lambda as they were now. This was especially true for the Odin Hasamadouki, the Hecate and Shirdug Atlas and the Chronos Murakami Junpei. These three had possessed some of the greatest fighting strength among the Bravers. However, Aran couldn't imagine that they would be able to defeat Vandali, even if they combined their strength. You've been promised a blessed fourth life like Kaido Kanata, but it's clearly not worth it, is it? Aran said. Our ways of thinking are different, Murakami said in response. I don't think there's much of a point in keeping this quiet from you, so I'll tell you. That guy intends to kill us. He was looking at us when that useless Kono attacked him. That's why we have to kill him no matter what, before we get killed. And since there's a reward that comes with it, there's nothing more to be said. The choice is obvious. If I were him, I'd try to kill us. I don't want a life where I'm just trying to hide so that he doesn't find me. And that god will apparently help us out more than he did with Kanata, so things will probably work out. Given the values of Murakami and his companions, it was only natural for them to decide that it was highly likely that Vandali would actively try to kill them. With that being the case, it went without saying that they would think of counterattacking rather than simply being killed. According to my calculation, the probability of him actively trying to kill you guys is, Aran began. At this point, no matter how low that number is, it might suddenly increase later. There's no point in that calculation, Murakami Junpei said as he turned his back to Aran and left. The other reincarnated individuals followed after him. Aran watched them leave with an irritated expression. Aran didn't really care whether Murakami and his companions died or not. He probably wouldn't feel sympathy for them even if their souls were destroyed. However, they intended to become Vandali's enemies, and if Vandali were to see this as all of the reincarnated individuals working together and actively tried to kill Aran's braver companions, it would be a serious problem. Considering that he has no way of actively finding us, we could hide if we were to be reborn as babies, but since it's him we're talking about, there's no guarantee that he won't gain some unfair skill like sense reincarnators, Aran muttered. Can I have a word? Said a voice. It's you. What do you want? Aran had thought that everyone had left with Murakami, but the Aegis Melissa J. Sortom had remained behind. I have a question. Origin and Lambda are different worlds, so why can Vandali use death attribute magic in the same way? She asked. Aran was confused by Melissa's question, but he quickly decided that it was fine and gave an answer. It's not that he can use it in the same way, it just looks that way. The fine points should be different, I think. To begin with, death attribute magic is irregular in both worlds. Rules might not be relevant for a previously undiscovered foreign magic. Aran and the others didn't know this, but the truth was that the counter ability of Ishkigul, who had become a part of Legion, could now only counter damage received from the last enemy that had attacked. Of course, Vandali had relearned death attribute magic on his own from scratch due to the experience gained in previous life not carried over, so he wasn't aware of any differences from Origin. I see then in the end, it's likely that he can do the same things. I have another question. Does vitality in Lambda apply in all cases? Like when someone's throat is cut by a knife or when they receive an attack that ignores defenses? Melissa asked. Wow, that's quite a dangerous question. It generally applies, Aran said. Of course, the amount of damage increases depending on where the attack hits, so it's not meaningless to aim for vital spots. But you can consider it impossible for a hero in that world to be caught off guard and die from a single attack from a regular person. On Earth and in Origin, no matter how battle-hardened a hero was, they could die very simply. However, in Lambda, where the rule of vitality, health points, existed, that would not happen. Even if a hero's throat was slit by a regular person or a nameless soldier, even if they were stabbed in the spleen from behind, they would not be fatally wounded. In some cases, they would not even be scratched. There are the concepts of attack power, defense power and skills. Defense power is made mostly meaningless if the attack lands through gaps in armor, but those with the physical resistance skill have skin that's like armor, Aran said. So even lightweight missiles wouldn't cause any problems, even if they landed. So, you noticed. Indeed, beings that could withstand an attack from a lightweight missile were not rare in Lambda. Such missiles would likely defeat rank 4 monsters such as orc soldiers, but even a direct hit would not inflict a fatal wound on rank 7 Earth Dragon. Such a hit would feel like nothing more than a somewhat strong punch to a rock dragon. Among Taylorsheim's members, the Sword King Borkus doesn't even need to be mentioned. Even Miles, who was currently on a business trip with the Sauron Liberation Front, would undoubtedly simply ignore the hit from the missile and go on to kill the person who shot it with his bare hands. Class adventurers would remain unharmed if they used shield technique and armor technique skills, and depending on their equipment, even D-class adventurers might get away with minor injuries. Even if they were hit in a bad place, they would not receive a fatal wound. Then what about a musket? Melissa asked. Well, it would be impossible to kill a D-class adventurer unless you hit them right in the eye or the mouth. I don't think the bullet would pierce the skull even if it hit the head. Even normal soldiers wouldn't die in one shot through their helmets. One shot might kill mages that have low vitality, though, Aran said. As for monsters, it depends on what kind of monsters they are, but you'd get the idea if I tell you that a rank 3 monster is about the same as a bear, right? It was difficult for even a skilled hunter to kill a bear with a single shot. That difficulty wouldn't be any less if the bear was replaced by a 3-meter-long huge boar or a fast-moving carnivorous dinosaur. And considering a musket's range, the shooter would normally be counter-attacked in Lambda. Even if only melee range weapons were available, the shooter would normally be counter-attacked in Lambda. Even if only melee range weapons were available, if one was skilled enough, martial skills that released slashes and impacts such as flying slash existed. Well-penetrating, highly lethal sniper rifles, assault rifles with high rates of fire and high-power anti-tank rifles might be different, but it seemed that guns were not very effective weapons in Lambda. The only difference was Vandal's cannon technique, but a cannon using vast quantities of mana as a propulsion force and projectiles made of a magical metal or fragments of the Demon King that could even slay gods could not be put into the same category as the guns and cannons of Earth and Origin. I see. So, what about attacks that ignore defense? Melissa asked. I don't want to answer that question, Aran said. That's clearly a question as to how effective Amamiya's ignore defense will be in Lambda, isn't it? Then you don't have to answer it. That response gave me a good enough idea. The cheat-like ability possessed by Amamiya Hiroto, ignore defense, which had its inconveniences but was considered to be overwhelmingly powerful in Origin. However, it seemed that it would not be as much of a threat in Lambda as in Origin, due to the existence of the concept of vitality. Having decided this from Aran's reaction, Melissa asked her next question, not caring about making him give a proper answer. Is it possible for us to be reincarnated in Lambda right after we die, like Kanata said? She asked. This was the reason Kanata had been destroyed by Vandali. It's possible, but difficult, Aran answered. It places a burden on the system. Once might be doable, but being reincarnated in an adult's body the moment after you're killed is impossible. Rod Corti was using a system to conduct reincarnation. That system denied the resurrection of any dead person. The reincarnated individuals tricked the system by being reborn as babies, but being revived in the same adult body as one possessed before being killed was no different from resurrection. As a result, it would place a burden on the system. So that means we can't redo things over and over. Thanks, that's all, Melissa said as she turned her back to Aran. With this, I've decided who I'm going to bet on, she thought. Meanwhile, Rodcorti was devising a concrete method of destroying Veda's circle of transmigration system and absorbing the souls of Veda's races that didn't originate from monsters, the evil gods who were the remnants of the Demon King's army, into his own system. Veda's destruction is necessary after all. However, looking at it another way, taking over her system will be simple once Veda is destroyed. The problem is, how will Alder destroy Veda when he is unable to destroy souls? If this method became possible, he would not only grant Alder's request, but also increase the number of souls flowing into Rodcorti's system, meaning that more of them could be used as fighting strength for erasing Vandali. He had gained information from the memories of the humans and dwarves of the Hartner Duchy's cultivation villages when Vandali brought them to Talersheim, though this information was only from the short period from before they were guided to the demon path. Beyond the boundary mountain range, Vandali had a nation in the southern region of the Barngaya continent, where the goddess slumbered, and he called himself the Holy Son of Veda. With that being the case, he was unlikely to run if Alder's forces attacked. And those who worshipped Alder would not ignore a nation that considered monsters such as undead, ghouls, vampires and lizardmen its citizens and worshipped Veda and the evil gods that had allied themselves with her. Rodcorti did not exist in Lambda, but Alder did. It would be difficult to stop his forces from labeling Zeruan, the god of space and creation, and Rickalant, the genie of time and space, as evil. If she is attacked with more persistency, her power is decreased and her believers fall sharply in number, she should fall from divinity. I suppose I shall go with this method, Rodcorti decided. Oi, answer my question. Broken souls can't be fixed, right? Said the mage Amamiya, interrupting Rodcorti's thoughts. How many times must I answer that for you to understand? Rodcorti asked him. I want to make sure. Because I can't trust you. I'm asking you the same question over and over to help decide whether you're lying or not. Rodcorti was slightly impressed. There were few humans that acted this arrogantly towards gods. It is not impossible to join the fragments of a broken soul together to recycle it as a different soul, he said. Really? Then, however, this is different from the resurrection that you are imagining. It would only result in a distorted soul that does not possess the personality or their memories of either Kono Kyuji or Kaido Kanata. As Rodcorti said this, he suddenly remembered something. 100,000 years ago, he had gathered the soul fragments of Zakat and Dark and combined them into a single soul to ensure that Veda would not resurrect the dead. He had watched numerous reincarnations of this soul as it flowed through his system, but it had not shown anything unnatural, so he had left it alone and forgotten about it. If you do not trust me, you can simply ask Machida-ran and Shimada Izumi. Why are you asking me? Rodcorti asked. To Minami-Asagi, the two who had become Rodcorti's familiar spirits should have been trustworthy companions. Despite that, he was making the effort of questioning Rodcorti, whom he declared untrustworthy, and Rodcorti couldn't understand this. Asagi quickly answered this question. That's right, but there might be some things that Ran and Izumi don't know. Even if I asked those two these things directly, something like what happened before might happen again. That's why I'm going to question you and then have Ran, Kuya and Tendu analyze your answers. By something like what happened before, he was likely referring to how Ran and Izumi had become unable to move when Kono Kyuji had tried to use the clairvoyance Tendu to attack before the others could get a chance. Humans who had ascended to becoming familiar spirits generally had free wills, but when they directly interfered with the gods they served or clearly violated the rules that had been imposed on them, they became unable to move. Asagi was likely wary that this could happen if questions that were inconvenient to Rodcorti happened to be asked. It seemed that there was more thought behind his actions than Rodcorti had thought. So then, why is it that you are honestly admitting this to me? Rodcorti asked. You can read what we're thinking anyway, right? So then, there's no point in hiding it, Asagi said. Indeed, that is true. Realizing that Asagi also possessed the courage and strength of will that he had originally thought, Rodcorti revised his view of him. On top of being aware that his thoughts were being read, Asagi was acting genuinely arrogant before a being who was absolutely superior to himself. Leaving aside whether that had any meaning or not, it was something that normal humans could not do. In fact, Rodcorti knew that Asagi's thoughts were the same as the words he spoke. But why would you wish for the resurrection of those two? You people no longer consider them your companions, do you? Rodcorti asked. Kaido Kanata had conducted acts such as abducting female criminals and murdering them after raping them, then concealing their corpses. When another reincarnated individual's mother in origin met an accident that left her on the verge of death, he had considered this fortunate and sold her organs after ending her life. He had truly disgraced the Bravers. Kono Kyoji could be considered to be no better than him, but he was a traitor who had joined the 8th Guidance with Murakami Junpei. Even though they had been destroyed, these two were not people whom Asagi should have been concerned about. However, it seemed that Asagi had different thoughts. "It's true that I can't consider them to be my companions," he said. "In fact, I think they deserved to die for the things they did. Aran and the others aren't worried about those two being destroyed, either. I know that the things Amamiya did were because he had no choice but to protect himself. But if you ask me whether they did something that made them deserve to have their souls broken, then it seemed that Asagi's thoughts as an individual were prompting him to investigate whether Kaito Kanata and Kono Kyoji's souls could be rebuilt. However, that is quite the meaningless thing that you are worrying about," Rod Corti remarked. "What? Ah, my apologies. It seems that I have accidentally spoken my true thoughts out loud. Are you trying to pick a fight with me? Why would I pick a fight with someone who cannot fight back? You are worrying about a truly meaningless thing, so that is simply what I thought." Asagi was enraged. Rod Corti decided to explain as he took small break. "It seems that you are worrying about whether those two committed acts worthy of having their souls broken, but the fitting punishment for one's acts will change depending on one's views. If there are some who say that someone deserves death for his crimes, there will be others saying that death is too harsh a punishment," he said. "It is a problem to me when any souls are broken, so I can say that those two should not have had their souls broken. That is all. You don't understand at all, do you? It makes me feel strange when a god himself says something like that. And aren't you the one who let Kono die?" Asagi said. "Would you like me to explain my reasons for that once more? Based on what I can read of your thoughts, you have quite the complete understanding of them. Cheat. You're not a god after all." Asagi spat as he turned his back to Rod Corti and left. It seemed that today's questioning would end here. What support the reincarnated individuals would actually get after being reborn in Lambda, how their previous experience would be reflected in their skills, whether their other memories would remain intact when their memories regarding the circle of reincarnation systems were deleted as they were reborn, whether they could choose their parents if they were reborn as babies, whether they could choose the place they started if they were reborn as adults. Asagi had asked numerous questions, but Rod Corti interpreted this as him thinking more seriously, and held higher expectations of him than he had in Kaito Kanata. "Now then, I suppose I will give my response to Elder. In other words, what I felt wasn't wrong. Amamiya, I'm definitely going to stop you," Asagi murmured. Chapter 131, The Spider-San's Request to Kill.
Hello, guys. So, I'm back, and so far we are on the process of putting on the base color on this one, and I am very happy with the line art. The outcome is pretty beautiful. Uh, there are probably some few details I need to fill in later on. I'll check it out tomorrow or probably. But so far so good. Uh, Adding some more details with this is really entertaining, and I do enjoy how I added the line art for this one, especially some parts over here. Let's just erase this a bit. There we go, and voila. So we have the base color. Maybe we should add we have the sketch, so let's add the BG background, and let's do a gradient. I would love to try, yeah, that would do. Maybe too dark. Let's change the color on here, then the light part a bit more lighter. bit more higher. Okay, beautiful. So we have the base color and a simple background and the beautiful line art. Be posting this on my social medias, and hopefully we can continue this next stream that I would do. Uh, really having a stream going while drawing is indeed a very huge motivation. It's not letting me watch some social media stuff or anything that might distract me. Good thing that uh, yeah, I remain focused doing this while listening to the story also. Mm, yeah. Anyway, lots of plans, especially the hair part over here. We need to fix this. I'm not really sure. Uh, but so far, so good. Oh, I think I missed this one. Where's the folder? Come on, come on. Here we go. Base color. Uh, I actually don't know if I should try adding some of this base color or something. Wait a minute. Yeah. Oh, wrong color. There we go. So yeah, we have the Greek style of this this robe. No, not the robe. Shawl. I'm not really sure what they call that. this particular clothing where there's like this silk cloth wrap around the female or even males, and but it looks good on her right now. I added a bit of the legs so that a bit more color over here. There we go. So I guess the dress is uh, yeah, it's not too awkward, I think. Okay, perfect. I think, and the legs is nicely drawn also. Right, the yeah, the line art that I did over here is pretty interesting. hmm I like the deeper marks of the line art with combined with some light strokes, especially the necklace over here. This would look really nice when it's done. Looking forward to that. Mm, I'm still debating if I should just do a simple colorization or try to do some blending. I do found something that was interestingly uh, like a video gif of not a video gif, just a gif. Yeah, gif of a time lapse. So I might try something like that, like following that instruction. I already downloaded those gifs of his art style. This particular designer. Uh, I would reveal the name next time probably, because I'll be entering in that territory of adding some shadows and lighting to determine the values. I'm thinking the light source would be at the back, so mostly of the front part of Guru's face would be covered in shadow, clothes, and so on and so forth. But there would be a determinedly really strong highlight probably coming from the back of her head. Will reveal a bit of more of her top of her head over here and some of the twin tails. All right. So we have the hand that she's holding. I added a mask so that I can technically keep the line art still. Interesting. Yeah. let's see what we can do with this tomorrow. It depends if I would play tomorrow or do another art stream, but whichever it is, let's see. Anyways, about the story of the Death Mage who doesn't go the fourth time. It was a really good character summary. It explained a lot of the characters that we've been with and the new characters that were just uh, recently been introduced, and we've learned also some of their skills, some of our titles, and their capabilities, and what are their status right now in the land of this place right now. Uh, so so far, Vandalay is now heading towards a different region where it's filled more of monsters, and we got a new two new characters. I wonder how many characters would the author add more in the near future. But right now, we have another orc. I don't know if he would survive this after Vandalay will be attempting to rescue the arachnid, the spider woman. Let's see what will happen after that. But other than that, I guess the bravers and the other side of the planet. Oh no, not the other side of the planet, or a different world right now. And those that are on the realm of Rod Courtney. Uh, it's pretty much like a good scenario of people like trying to do. They think they're trying to do good or promoting good on their own, and also some people are promoting their selfish desires, which are causing some issues with some other people or even the world itself. And it's like reflecting on some of our values as human beings, really. It's a wonderful representation of each individual's mindset. And I like how the author managed to like show each different each character has their own values and own morals that are clashing at each other, and also like decision makings that are based on their own understanding. It's a wonderful part of the story. And something that I noticed about Rod Courtney also is that Rod Courtney is a very interesting villain, I might say. He's not really like your typical villain or a typical antagonist that has a evil kind of a motive or something. He's actually trying to help the world, but it's also like going to benefit him and his plans in the near future. But it's still like he's thinking that the his action would pretty much help the world of Landa. That's why he did all the reincarnation stuff that were happening in this story. But yeah, it is indeed founded by his selfish desire, and he has some personal plans that he would like to implement, and that's why uh, I see him as a very interesting villain. Uh, like I said, he's not totally very evil or something. He's a bit hypocritical and a bit more like a very lazy uh, god, small caps. But yeah, I might, I would say that he is indeed interesting because he is not fueled by evil desires. More, well, you could say we could argue that being his selfishness is actually evil, but it's not really motivated to just like destroy the world or something like that. That's something that's really interesting for me. That the author managed to make this type of character into the main antagonist of the story. Huh. Yeah. So that's my one of the sense or opinions that I have regarding the storytelling of this wonderful light novel, and I'm looking forward what will happen in the near future, especially some of the characters that are about to be uh, newly reincarnated at our, it's either they'll be in the pro kill Vanity or the side of like we'll just mind our own business or try to appease with Vanity, whichever their decision would be. Let's just see that, because I'm seeing this as like yeah, because the people has like a lot of opinions, their takes and their own circumstances, and yeah, it's really good that the author can really reflect that through this character, all these characters that he has managed to write down. Ah man, I wish I can do that properly if I ever do my pursue my writing career or my manga career that I'm still planning. Or that's also something I'm glad to tell you guys is that I'm definitely planning to write down my story, just a simple story first, and let's see what where that would lead me. All right, I guess that's pretty much it that I'm about this. All that I can say about the story, about the art right now. Uh, I would like to promote, guys, my arts right now. If you've been following me on my social media, let me just move this on a different folder screen. I mean, if you've been following me on my social medias, I've posted some few artworks that I've been doing without showing you guys through the stream and stuff like that. And yeah, I did this I've done this fan art that I made of the what you call this Suzume. Uh, yeah, Suzume. If you've know this anime or this movie, good for you because it's one of the best animes out there. I'm also planning to make a video a video review of the movie Suzume. So yeah, of course, this Suzume is a Shinkai Abakoto Shinkai production or director. Is he the director or the writer or something? I can't remember. uh, but anyway, yeah, this is one of Shinkai's works, and is now being I posted in my social media and also asked somebody to help me to sell it on Etsy. So if you're familiar with Etsy, it's a definitely an online shop where you can sell or buy some interesting stuffs, online stuff, including artwork. So here it is, the website. I'll probably this add this website to the description, and here it is. One of the things that I'm selling here was the Sesame artwork. You can go ahead and purchase this. There's a PNG and PSD in this file if you would purchase this, and there's also some few more art that I'm also selling right now. And in the near future, I'll definitely add some more. Depends on my current budget also, because it's a bit expensive to like set these things up and asking some commissions to do this. And yeah, I'm just trying because if I did this on myself, I wouldn't have managed to do this wonderful mock-up. I salute Mr. Israel for his line of work from doing this and setting up my shop. Thank you very much. So that's a shout out. And of course, if you're interested of the putting this as a whatever you want to do with the artwork that I made, you can purchase it now in Etsy. So I will link the description on my down below on YouTube after this. And yeah, I guess that's enough for today, guys. Too much. I have said so much. Too much. I mean, and I hope that we can see each other again next time. And once again, I would suggest to leave a like and subscribe if you are interested to see more of these things that I have been posting. Will help a lot. And please promote these things if you know some artists or people that are interested in this kind of art, especially to those Hololive fans. Alright, so this is your boy Shrimp, the Prodigal Shrimp, and I'll see you again next time. And take care, God bless, and peace!